The Buddha once asked his student that if a person is stuck by an arrow, is it painful? The student nodded, yes. Then the Buddha asked him again that if a person is stuck by a second arrow, is it even more painful? The student again nodded yes. The Buddha then said, in life, we cannot always control the first arrow. However, the second arrow is a reaction to the first. The second arrow is optional. In a world of billions, in a world where we all are seeking connection but avoiding eye contact, there are remarkable points of impact where you manage to crash yourself into someone who ends up breaking through the exterior. Yo guys, namaskaram. So today I wanted to talk about I think certain fundamentals through which we can kind of kickstart this year. So the story inside your head matters the most. It's because what you believe in is what you will act upon. Those actions would then turn into habits, which then would shape up your behavior towards life. You don't necessarily have to be positive all the time, but having a negative story in your mind will definitely prevent the outcome that you're trying to achieve. There's a quote by Horace Mann. If an idiot were to tell you the same story every day for a year, you would end by believing it. When you're young, you'll believe that there will be many people with whom you'll connect with deeply. Later in life, you realize that it only happens a few times. A few moments frozen in genuine beauty, where you look at someone and you know from a place deep within yourself that they're going to mean something to you, that they're rare. When it comes to this kind of connection, it's important to understand that energy cannot be created or destroyed. That's a scientific fact. If the depth is there, it cannot be denied, cannot slip through your fingers, cannot be something you successfully run away from due to fear of exposure or battle wounds. You can try to dismiss it, can try to stay protected and hidden from the warmth, but your hiding spot is never watertight. It always catches up to you. And if it's not meant to fit within the soul of you, it's simply not your love to hold. No amount of bargaining with your heart will anchor it. That is the beauty of discovering things that stay, the things that fall into place. In a world of billions, in a world where we all are seeking connection but avoiding eye contact, there are remarkable points of impact where you manage to crash yourself into someone who ends up breaking through the exterior. Someone who makes contact with your heart, who grows roots within it. Together you beat the odds. If you have found human beings like this, I hope you protect them. I hope you risk your heart for what you feel. I hope you believe that you're worthy of something full and pointed and real. I hope you never settle for less, because certain people are truly just rare. Beautiful drops of borrowed light that finds their way to you. You don't feel alien with them. The otherness never arrives. There isn't a version of yourself you have to shed in order to feel connected to them. They see you clearly. You're held there. You're chosen there. Love becomes a safe space to rest your head, a place without artifice or armor. There are no hiding spots. Everything is unguarded and unvarnished, and there is freedom in that kind of openness, in that kind of vulnerability. I promise it's worth fighting for. This whole segment is by Brancas Parasino. I just felt like sharing this because I think when we are kind of moving in life, we take a lot of things for granted. The most common things that we take for granted, I think, are the people around us whom we deeply care for, or let's say, whom we deeply connect with on one level. Most people try to diffuse your choices by bringing age to the picture. You listen to us because you are young and we are old. It's awareness which brings wisdom. Sometimes young people are more wise because they have experienced things with depth and awareness. Charles Bukowski says, and I quote, that if you're going to try, go all the way. There's no other feeling like that. You will be alone with the gods, and the nights will flame with fire. You will ride life straight to perfect laughter. It's the only good fight there is. We waste a lot of our time by being concerned with the affairs of other people. Never waste your valuable time or your mental peace of mind. That is like too high of a price to pay, because you're just giving away irreplaceable seconds to people who don't really matter. So We don't necessarily have to be the best, but just avoid situations where we are at our worst selves. This comes from positioning yourselves in the long term in a sensible way. We want to be in a situation where every change should become an opportunity in our lives instead of being a struggle to push through. Let's take a common example of smoking. So, if you're smoking consistently, it might not seem harmful today, but 5 years down the line, it decreases the overall health of your body, which puts you in a weak position, right? So, seemingly boring choices today leads to a strong position tomorrow. So, there's this famous story from Buddhism which I would like to quote that the Buddha once asked his student that if a person is stuck by an arrow, is it painful? The student nodded yes. Then the Buddha asked him again that if a person is stuck by a second arrow, is it even more painful? The student again nodded yes. The Buddha then said, in life, we cannot always control the first arrow. However, the second arrow is a reaction to the first. The second arrow is optional. So, like, Sadhguru says it best that whatever happens to us in our life is not our choice, but what we make out of it is 100% our choice. Sometimes suffering the second or the third or the fourth arrow might feel good in the short term, but from a long term perspective, it brings emotions of envy, jealousy, greed, just to name a few, which then reduces the overall prospect of your life, right? In the long term, you're not positioning yourself in a more healthy environment for that matter, but in a more stressful, negative environment. So, anyhow, like this is a small video which I wanted to do, probably some pointers for us to just be reminded of when we are like starting this year. Anyhow, let me know what you feel about it. And until then, this is Debashish Pindra from Debu Ki Dastak signing off. Cheers.